Good morning, students. A very good morning to all my students. Now, welcome back to your English literature class once again. Now, the students must be knowing that we were going through a particular story named The Kabuliwala, written by our famous Indian poet Rabindranath Tagore, isn't it? Now, in order to make you understand this particular story in a better way, I am dividing the story into parts. You must have seen, right? Previously, I have taken two classes with you, means two. I have discussed the story into two parts. I have given two lecture videos to you people by dividing the story into two parts. Now, this is the third part of the story which I am going to discuss today. Okay. Now, as per I have discussed in the last uh, lecture video, you must be knowing that the Kabuliwala, who became the very good friend of Mini, was taken to jail by the policeman as he has struck a customer who has denied of buying anything from him, isn't it? For this, he struck that particular man, and now he is being taken by the policeman. So this is the scene right in this moment. Okay. Uh, Mini, this little girl, without understanding anything, shouted in order to call the Kabuliwala. In return, Kabuliwala, in order to make her happy, showed her some gestures uh, in order to tell her, in order to make her understand that he is going to the father-in-law's house, but as he has told before, he cannot thrash the father-in-law, or rather he cannot thrash the policeman as his two hands were bound at that time. Okay, so this much we have learned, right? Now the next part of the story we will go to and try to understand. Okay. Rahman was sentenced to several years' imprisonment for having attacked a person violently. See what has happened? Rahman was sentenced to several years. Sentenced means it is a kind of punishment. Sentenced, he was punished for several years and he was being imprisonment. He was in the prison. He was the jailer, those who remains in jail. He was imprisoned for having attacked a person violently. Violently means with a lot of force. Okay. Time passed and he was forgotten. Now, this can happen that if time passes for long, long years, and if you do not see a particular man, you might forget that particular man, how he used to believe or how he or she used to talk. These things we may sometimes forgets if that particular person is not the closest of all. Okay, so time passed and he was forgotten. He was forgotten by people whom he had met before. Okay, it was autumn and Minnie was going to be married. Now, students, you must be knowing, you must have heard this thing from your um, grandparents. You can ask your grandparents, especially you can ask your grandmothers, that in the early times, at their age, Your grandmothers were being married in a very early age. Nowadays, this is a crime, but previously, your grandmothers got married at a very early of their age. Okay, so over here also it was autumn and Minnie was going to be married. She was not 5 years old at that time. I do not know what is her age at that time, but not actually the proper age to marry like nowadays. She was then also small, not properly get matured enough to marry. Okay, so it was time for her marriage at that time. Okay, the morning of her wedding dawned and was filled with endless hurry and excitement. Now, you must have gone to some wedding parties, wedding houses. You know how much excitement it consists of. You must be knowing this. So, the same thing has happened with this family also. The morning of her wedding dawned. Dawn means early morning. Means from the early morning only it is um, full of excitement, full of hurry. People are running here and there. People are busy in arranging, decorating, and everything. Okay, from the very morning, from the early morning, dawn time. Okay. The morning of her wedding dawned and was filled with endless hurry. Endless hurry means, as I have told, people are running here and there in order to work fast. Okay, and they were full of excitement. They were so exciting. This you all know. Okay, I was in my study looking through the accounts when someone entered saluting respectfully. See, who is this I over here? I is the author of the story, or you can say the father of the little girl. Okay. I was in my study. In my study means study room where he used to study something, study some books. Um, he used to write something like that. I was in my study looking through the accounts. Looking through the accounts means looking through the expenses that has happened in his marriage, in his daughter's marriage ceremony. Okay, so he was checking those accounts, he was checking those amounts of money when someone entered the house saluting, you know what is salute? Saluting respectfully towards the author. Okay, it was the Kabuliwala. At first, he was unrecognizable without his bag, long hair, and his cheerful spirit. See what has happened? Just few lines above it, it was told now that time passed and he was forgotten. Yes, time had passed and he was forgotten by most of the people. So at first he was unrecognizable, means the author could not recognize him at the very first. And the another thing also, he is for after many years he is now coming out of the jail, so there may be some changes in his facial expression. How can the how can the author recognize him so easily? That is also not possible. Okay, so at first he was unrecognizable without his bag, means now he is not carrying his bag, so it is a bit difficult to recognize him. Okay, at first he was recognizable without his bag, long hair, and his cheerful spirit. Means now he is not having his long hair. Maybe he has cut his hair after coming out of the jail, whatever it is, and his cheerful spirit. This person was having a cheerful spirit within himself. He used to laugh so much all the time. He was very cheerful. But now those things are absent. So it may happen that the author could not recognize him. Okay. But he smiled, and I knew him again. But then also, though the author could not recognize him first, but then also he smiled, and the author now could recognize him. I knew him again. Now the author could recognize him. Okay. When did you come, Rahman? I asked. I was released from jail yesterday, he said. So I was released from the jail yesterday, he said. Okay, wait a second. So just see the next page. The words struck harshly upon my ears. So see what has happened. The words, which words? That Rahman was released from jail yesterday only. These words struck harshly upon my ears. These particular words sounded very unpleasant to the author. Okay. Suppose, just for giving an example, suppose in your locality, your parent or your neighbors come to know that this particular person got released from jail, or a thief who was in the jail few days back but was released from the jail now, whether he has done anything wrong or whether he has not done anything wrong, whatever it is, but after getting released from the jail, can that particular person be believed like the normal people? Absolutely not. Okay, we people, we human beings cannot believe everybody all of a sudden, or rather, we should not be believing everybody all of a sudden. There, we must be waiting for some proof to believe somebody. Okay, in order to, for our own safety only. Okay, the same thing has happened with this father only. The father who was very much concerned about his little daughter, like your parents only, when suddenly he come to know that this person, though he knows this person before, but this person was released from jail yesterday only, maybe he has done something wrong or may not be, but then also there can be a negative feeling about this person. Okay, this person may do anything harm after getting released also, may do or may not be doing, but then also there will be a, a particular a negative feeling about that person, and that is very much normal. That happens with all the normal people. It happens with us also. We cannot believe somebody whom we know that they have done a mistake, whom we know that they have done that this particular person have done something wrong. We cannot believe him suddenly again until and unless we are getting any proof. So the same thing has happened with this father only, who is now getting his daughter married. Okay, the concerned father who was getting his daughter married now cannot believe this person who has returned from jail yesterday only. Okay, So the word struck harshly upon my ears. The word sounded very unpleasant, very disturbing in my ears. I cannot, he cannot believe that thing. Mm, he cannot trust him so much. Okay. There are ceremonies going on. I said, perhaps you could come another day. See how the father is trying to avoid him. Now, the concerned father, by knowing that this particular person returned from jail yesterday only, who we cannot believe now, trying to avoid him. This is also very much normal. This happens with every parents who are very much concerned about their child. Okay. He was then telling that there were ceremonies going on, ceremonies of marriage. He said, perhaps you could come another day, perhaps, or if you please come on another day. For today, you please go like this, he is telling. Okay. Crestfallen, he left, but returned a moment later and said, I have brought something for the little one. Will you give it to her? See what is written? Crestfallen. Crestfallen means looking and feeling disappointed. See, in the meaning portion it is written looking and something disappointed. Mm, when you do not get a particular thing from your parents or somebody else which you are asking for so many days, you may feel disappointed. And suddenly, if you come to know a particular news which you are not expecting, then also you feel disappointed. So this is the thing. Suddenly he come to know about this matter that Winnie is going to get married and there are ceremonies going on and the father is asking him to come on another day. So this person got shocked as well as disappointed. Okay. So crestfallen, he left. He left means he left from that particular place but returned a moment later. See, and said, I have brought something for the little one, means I have brought something, maybe some gift for the little one. Little one means Minnie. Will you give it to her? Asking his father. I took the nuts and was going to pay him, but he stopped me and said, you are very kind, sir. See, I took the nuts means the father has taken the nuts and was going to pay him in return. But he stopped me. He means this Rahman stopped him and said, you are kind, you are very kind, sir. Means since this particular person, since this father has taken the gift, though he do not want to allow him now, that is why, uh, according to Rahman, this author was behaving very kindly to him. So he is telling that you are very kind, sir, but I am not here for profit. I am not here for profit means I am not here for selling anything. I am not here for earning my money. I'm just giving. I'm just giving this as a gift. Okay. I too have a little girl in my own house, in my own home, in my own home. See what the Rahman is telling that he too have a little girl in his own house. In his own house means where? In Afghanistan. Okay. I think of her and bring this fruit to your child. Means by thinking of his own daughter, this Rahman used to bring fruits for this little girl. Okay. That means we can understand somehow that this Rahman, this Kabuliwala was a nice person at heart. Though he had done some violent activities before, but this person was having a caring attitude towards his daughter, towards his own daughter, or maybe towards Minnie. Okay. Saying this, saying this, he brought out a small and dirty piece of paper from his robe. So, what he has done, saying this, he has taken out a small and dirty piece of paper from his robe, means from his dress that he was wearing. Okay, unfolding it with great care, he smoothed it out on my table. Now, what he has done, unfolding it, folding, and the opposite is unfolding. Unfolding it with great care means very carefully. He smoothed the paper. Can you understand if a paper gets crumbled? So, smoothing a paper, I think you can understand. It is making the paper plain like that. So, he smoothed it out on my table. Now, see, it bore the impression of a little hand. It bore the impression means it consists. Bore means consist. Impression means a mark, print. So it bore the impression of a little hand, not a photograph. So the paper he unfolded doesn't consist of a photograph, but it consists a print, a mark of a little hand. And it is of whom? It is of his daughter. Not a drawing, merely the impression of an ink smeared hand. Not a drawing also, it is only the impression, the print of an ink smeared, means suppose a hand uh, is got full of ink, and with it his daughter has made an impression, made a mark of his of oh, sorry of her hand. Okay, sometimes you people also do now while playing with colors, hand hand impression, palm impression that you say. Okay, the same thing she has also done in order to keep a memory with his father. Okay, see, he carried this memory of his own daughter next to his heart when he came to Calcutta to sell his wares. So, can you understand? At that time, photographs were not so famous, and taking the photograph by the poor people is not at all easy. Okay, so he carried the memory of that hand impression of his own daughter next to his heart. Next to his heart means he kept that particular thing very much closer to his heart, maybe in his uh, maybe in his pocket right beside the heart. Maybe we do not know now. When he came to Calcutta to sell his wares, when he came to Calcutta, Calcutta means Kolkata, you all know, to sell his wares means to sell his items. So, whenever this person comes to Kolkata in order to sell his items, he used to bring that memory along with him next to his heart. Okay, tears came to my eyes. He was no longer just a poor Kabuli fruit seller. Like me, he was a father. Now, can you understand? Now, the author have understood that how this person is. This person is not so wrong. This person has a good heart at his own. Means within himself, he has a good heart also. So tears came to my eyes, means in my eyes, in the author's eyes, tears came. He was no longer, this Kabuliwala was no longer just a poor Kabli fruit seller. Like me, he was also a father. Okay. I sent for Mini immediately. I sent for Mini Immediately means I sent mm, a particular person, a particular, what is to say, a particular man to call Mini. Okay, there may be some maids at his home, so he called a maid in order to call Mini. Okay, clad in the bride's red silk, with the sandal paste on her forehead, Minnie came and stood shyly before me. See what is written? Clad means dressed in a bride's red silk. You must be knowing now that when a woman gets married, she used to wear a red colored sari, a red silk sari, maybe of Banarasi or whatever it is. So it is a red silk sari. So that little girl was wearing a red silk sari. She was dressed with a red silk sari with sandal paste on her forehead. This you all know. These are the rituals of getting married. Minnie came and stood shyly before me. Minnie came and stood. Shy means you know very well. Mm, Shy means you can say timid. She was standing with Shy beside me. Okay. Amazed, the Kabuliwala smiled and said, "Little one, are you going to your father-in-law's house?" See, amazed means surprised. By looking at the beautiful little girl, the Kabuliwala smiled and said, "Little one, are you going to your father-in-law's house?" But Minnie now understood. Now Minnie had grown up a little bit, not so small like a 5-year-old daughter, like a 5-year-old girl. So Minnie now understood what is the meaning of father-in-law. Okay, by understanding that, she blushed at the question and stood before him with her face bowed down. Now, can you understand? She was feeling shy by listening to this. She is feeling very shy by as soon as she heard the term of uh, going to the father-in-law's house. Okay, she blushed, she smiled a little bit at the question and stood before him, before Kabliwala, with her face bowed down, lowing down. Okay. When she left, Rahman sighed deeply. When she left, Rahman sighed deeply. Now see what happened when she left that particular place, when she moves away from that particular place, Rahman sighed deeply. Rahman felt very sad. Why? Rahman was also a father. He was having the same care, same affection towards that little girl who was few years back having such a cozy relationship, cozy friendship with him. And also by thinking about his own daughter, he felt sad. Okay. He realized that his daughter too must have grown up and he would have to get to know her again. Now, see what is written? He realized then that his daughter, who stays in Afghanistan, must have grown up like this little girl only, and he would have to get to know her again, and he need to return home now to get in contact with her. He was not in contact with her own daughter, with his own daughter, no. So now he need to go back home and need to know her again, means need to keep in contact with her, need to stay with her. Okay. I handed him some money and said, "Go back to your daughter Rahman in your own country. May the happiness of your meeting bring good fortune to my child." See what the father has done? See what the author has done? I handed him means I hand over some money to this Rahman and told him, go back to your own daughter, Rahman, in your own country, that is in Afghanistan. May the happiness of your meeting with whom? Of your meeting with Minnie. Bring good fortune to my child. Bring good luck to my child. Okay, the father being so concerned about his daughter, feeling that this particular meeting in between Rahman and Mini may bring good luck to her new life, new life of marriage. Okay. Having made this present, I had to cut down on some of the festivities. Now see, having made this present means this person, means the father, has given some money to this Rahman, no? So this is like a present. Okay. So having made this present by making a present, by gifting something, by gifting something to the man, to this Kabuliwala, I had to cut down on some of the festivities. I had to cut down some of the expenses. Some of the expenses means I had to cut down, I had to low down some of the costings, festivities that are being used for the marriage ceremony. I could not have the electric lights I had intended, means there may be some electric lights that he thought of putting in his daughter's marriage, but he now thought that I could have not the electric lights uh, that I intended to put. I will not put those electric lights. Rather, it is better to help a poor father. Okay. But to me, the wedding feast was much brighter because in a distant land, a long lost father would meet his only child again. So can you understand how the author felt at the end of the story? He felt that I may stop putting some electric lights which I thought of putting. I may cut down some money for it, but to him, the wedding feast, the wedding ceremony would have been much brighter, can be much brighter because in a distant land means in Afghanistan, it is in a very distant place. A long lost father, long means for so many days, okay, maybe for so many years, lost father who has not gone to his own house for so many days or so many years would meet now his only child again, would meet his own daughter again. So by thinking about the poor father's daughter, Mini's father felt a little bit thoughtful. He thought that it is better to help a poor father rather than putting some uh, expensive electric lights in his daughter's marriage ceremony. Okay, so these can be a certain concern, certain care of a father towards his own daughter. Okay, so this is all about the story. This is a nice story written by our great poet Rabindranath Tagore. I hope you have all. I hope you all loved the story. I hope you have understood it. If still now, if you have any problem, you can ask me in the live classes. I'm there to help you out. So today till this much. Thank you, my students.